Rishabh, joining us on the broadcast with the details of this controversy and the land scam that was almost pulled until the government actually stepped in. And, it still seems quite unbelievable that something like this was actually just about to happen. Let me take this to Imran first, because Nithyananda is on the run in India as well. In Ramnagar, he had his ashram. He also had a sexual assault case against him. He is not in the country anymore, Imran, but while the law continues to chase him, he is making fake deals. And it looks like was all set to take over land in the Amazon. Very, very bizarre details coming in.
Well, absolutely, Akhil. As you point out that, there's a land deal which happened with the tribal communities there. In fact, the government very clearly states that any property buying by outsiders in Amazonian land has to go through the legal process. And what we found is that the indigenous community also revolted against this forceful purchase of this land. They reported 20 members of the Nithyananda from Bolivia, and there was also allegations of intimidation by the journalists who have been reporting about this particular sale of land by the Nithyananda and the team and people there in Bolivia. Now, the Bolivian government has stepped in and said that they have taken control of it and they have deported all those people involved in the land deals. But this case has come as another shock to someone from India who had escaped, as you rightly pointed out. He had an ashram in Vidadi in Karnataka and was now trying to buy Amazonian land in Bolivia. And now the government has stepped in and ensured that the land deal doesn't happen. And that too for a paltry sum of 75,000 rupees a lease a year for 1,000 years. But the government has stepped in now and ensured, because of the massive protest by the indigenous communities and also by the Journalists Association who exposed it, and they have now deported 20 members of the Nithyananda team there.
Okay, all right. Rishabh is also with us. Rishabh, what is the position of India on this? Because there are multiple cases against Nithyananda. Like Imran was pointing out, there are rape cases, kidnap cases, illegal confinement cases against Nithyananda. And yet he is not wanted by Interpol. There is no red corner notice that has been issued against him. So what is the action and India's position on Nithyananda?
Does not treat him just as a citizen. He is an absconder, a willful defaulter who has escaped from the country, and India is trying to bring him back. And this has been a constant stand of India for years. Even when he came up with this idea of United States of Kailasa, the first and only Hindu kingdom in the world, the Indian government clearly notified all the agencies that this is a scam and one should not fall to it. Now that the case has come in Bolivia, the government of India is in touch with the government of Bolivia as well. Remember, there have been 67 Indian followers of Nithyananda who have been, brought back to India. They have been deported from Bolivia. India is trying to ensure that Nithyananda is brought back. While Nithyananda is trying to have a UN membership, India ensuring that all the legal courses are taken to bring him back and bring him to book.
It's taking a lot of time, isn't it? Rishabh, my apologies. I request you to stay with us. Vikram Singh, ex-DGP of UP, is joining us. Brinda Adige also on the broadcast with us. Mr. Vikram Singh, this is an international embarrassment. Now, thankfully, the lease was immediately halted before it could actually take effect. But imagine what could have happened. And this causes a lot of embarrassment. Nithyananda trying to cut a deal of Amazonian land in Bolivia.
Absolutely. You must realize that Nithyananda is one of the most slippery and devious fugitives of justice. Not ordinary, with deep pockets, extensive connections, and that are international. Not just Indian, but international connections and ramifications. He is a blackmailer, an armor twister past experience, and an embarrassment. Yes, indeed, an avoidable embarrassment at that. I do hope that the international community, which would include the Interpol, the CBI in India, and also other investigating agencies, would come together and ensure that the ends of justice are ensured. For too long has he been able to evade the trial, the investigation, and also facing the courts of law in multiple cases in multiple countries. But now the time has come, perhaps, that collective action together and ensure collation, appreciation of evidence, and then make him face the courts wherever in international, because he's not just a fugitive of justice from just India. He's a fugitive of justice from many countries. And I do hope that our act is put together so that he does not do the underground, he does not go underground yet once again and goes in for expanding his empire of crime.
Absolutely. In fact, Brinda Adige is also with us. Thank you for your perspective. Ms. Brinda Adige, though this land loot was the attempt or the bid for it was crushed immediately, but this is also an indication that clearly there's no let-up, and Nithyananda continues. After the multiple cases in Karnataka, his representatives were also seen in the UN, and now you have another bid to take over Amazonian land. And look at the audacious attempt, 3,900 acres of land being attempted to be leased for 1,000 years.
You're absolutely right. This guy is not just an embarrassment. He's a disgrace to the country like ours, India, where we supposedly pride ourselves about gurus and Sanatana Dharma. But that said, can we also ask the Indian government, how did he escape from here in a country that has so many strictures, so many places where he could have been caught, he has been allowed, and going over there, we also know that he is not alone. There are several Indian devotees, especially women, and their families are looking for these women here, and the government has not been able to either bring those women back nor this guy. I just hope that this fellow, Nithyananda, not only is jailed by the officials in Bolivia, but also be sent back here to India so that he can serve his jail term. But more than that, I'm concerned about the women who are his devotees, who are supposedly staying with him in that kailasa, which is absolutely a non-country, and whatever lies he has been spreading via the internet, all the members who are managing his administration and his monies, they also must be booked, because he cannot be doing this by himself. All these people who are very, very well learned and academically qualified professionals are managing his money and trying to buy this land. Again, I come back to this. All the parents who are looking for their children or their families looking for the women who are staying with him must be sent back to India and not be tried anywhere else as his accomplice or somebody who have abetted to whatever this man has done. They are responsibility of India, and those women must come back to India.
Okay, all right. Abha Singh is also with us. Thank you for joining us, and good morning, Ms. Abha Singh. You know, time and again, there have been details of the cases that have been filed against Nithyananda. And in India, we're still awaiting action because he fled from here. He tried to set up his own nation, and clearly there's no stopping him, because now he was trying to take over land and making a land loot bid in Bolivia. It has been stopped, yes, but this is quite a disgrace.
You know, it is very surprising that these people who have done so many crimes in India have managed to flee the country, and our agencies are unable to bring them back. In fact, the Interpol, what the coordination they have with Interpol raises questions that they are now buying land in different countries, taking nationality. So it clearly seems that the government does not want to bring them back. Otherwise, if we call ourselves the emerging superpower and we say our economy is 5 trillion economy, we are a big market, then how come our voice is not being heard by small countries like Bolivia is the biggest question I ask. That means there is neither any political will nor any will of the enforcement agencies to bring Nithyananda back.
Okay, all right. Thank you for joining us. Charuvali Khanna, activist, also on the broadcast with us. And it's very important what Abha Singh was also mentioning as well. India, an emergent nation, we have our economy making headlines across the world. At a time like that, you have such indications coming in of how somebody from India, Nithyananda, was trying to take over the Amazonian land. While it has been stopped by the Bolivian government, it raises several questions, brings a lot of disgrace to the country, and questions start to come in. What is the Indian government doing? Why is there no action that has been taken against Nithyananda? Why hasn't been brought back to the country to face the law?
See, to bring back Nithyananda is a criminal, and the Indian government is after him for a long time. But these people are, they think they're above the law. They fool people. They use their religious powers, their so-called religious powers, to create a frenzy amongst their own devotees. He first created a nation, and he even was given United Nations recognition. And then when India, kind of informed the United Nations was withdrawn from him, the recognition was withdrawn. Now he's fleeing that so-called country where he was and going to the Amazon. So these people are, masterminds at crime, and they one step ahead of the government. They know how to fool the people. They know how to fool the new government, and they kind of present that they are some superpower, and that is how they keep on moving from country to country. So it's not very easy. I mean, if you know where a person is, then the Interpol and the Indian government can seek extradition if there's an extradition treaty with that country. But these people know. Recently in the news, there was about that other gentleman, that jeweler. He also from Antigua. He is now gone to some
Yes.
other country, and so they keep on. These countries have, they're very simple. They're those. A lot of nations they believe in honesty, and they trust
Absolutely. We just
your
heard the news of
credentials.
Mehul Choksi as well, and it raises questions. Why does it take so long for the law to catch up with these individuals who are facing multiple cases in the country? Thank you so much for joining us. To put things in perspective, let's show you what is the land grab that was about to happen. Thankfully, the Bolivian government immediately intervened, but just to give you perspective of how huge this entire land was, which was to be taken over for the next 1,000 years by Nithyananda and co., it was 2.6 times the size of Delhi. So to put things in perspective, look at the huge amount of the land that was all set to be taken over. It was 6.5 times the size of Mumbai. So it's a huge space of land. It's about 5.3 times the size of Bengaluru. So already Nithyanand has created a mythical nation which he claims he's the leader of, but now wanting to take over more land, which was 19 times the size of Kolkata. So can you imagine how huge the entire area was? It was over 9 times the size of Chennai, and this was the land that was being taken on lease by Nithyananda. In fact, it's 6 times the size of Hyderabad. This is just to give you a perspective of how huge the entire area was. Places like Ahmedabad, we've seen them, it is over 8 times the size of that. And this is land in Amazon. Can you believe it? The land that is protected and ecologically so sensitive and important, that was the land being taken over by Nithyananda and co, signing a deal with the tribes of Amazon. So to give you a perspective, this is how massive that entire land is that was being taken over by Nithyananda and co, with 3,900 square kilometers of the Amazonian land being taken over. So look at the sheer size of it, and look at the scam that was being pulled, and look at the amount that was paid as well. Over 2,500 rupees on a day. That was the amount of money that was being spent. My colleague Imran continues to stay live with us with the details. Well, Imran, very clearly we just put things in perspective as well of the massive, huge amount that was being taken over. It was 3,900 square kilometer of Amazonian land. Again, to circle back to what is the action that is being taken against Nithyananda, because this bid has been crushed yet, but there are multiple cases that he still faces in the country, and the law has not caught up with him.
Well, yes, I mean, in fact, their action has been taken by the Bolivian government there, but the whole question about he was someone who is fugitive from India, and they have not, the government yet, despite several cases against him of rape and other charges, they have not been able to trace, and after all these years of a fugitive like Nithyananda, who are in the flourishing ashram in Bidadi in Karnataka, from where he escaped and where he's not been arrested yet. And he has been claiming that he set up his own country called Kailasa, and he's been now internationally, making such fictitious deals. The latest one to come up with is from Bolivia, where he tried to buy land from on lease or from the indigenous communities. After the huge, massive uproar in the Bolivia, and also the exposure by the Journalists Association, the Bolivian government has got into action, and they have deported 20 people belonging to Nithyananda Ashram. And now where they had signed agreements with Cayuba, Esa, and Boyer, the indigenous communities, for 1,000 years. So these are very, as one of the panelists is pointing out, these are not very, they are very docile people, and they have not know these kind of scams which are existing. But as per, they made an agreement with the United States of, funnily calling itself United States of Kailasa, and they made that deal. And there was, after the indigenous communities, protested against Nithyananda, and there was a huge uproar. Even the media picked up, and there was intimidation, is what the Journalists Association are saying there in Bolivia. there was huge intimidation on the part of Nithyananda and his team. And after they picked it up, the Bolivian government finally stepped in and have deported 20 people from the Bolivia, and they have been fined many of the followers for making such deals, which is actually in the Amazonian region, and there are stricter rules and regulations for that. And now the Bolivian government has stepped in. Now it's time to see what the Indian government will do about this international fugitive who is involved in many cases, not just in India, now also internationally.